Okay.
We are rolling. Let's go. Let's do this. Let's talk about the fact that it has to be Jan.
Oh my God.
Welcome
Only
to another
murders in
Only
the
Murders
building.
sidecast, and it's got to be Jan at the end of episode 9, right?
Yes.
She's on
It has
stage.
to be.
She's been lying this whole time. It's her POV. Oh my God, her POV lays it on thick this episode.
So it's not sentimental, but it's romantic with a capital R, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
It's just like it's just ladling it on over after over. Like it's a mystery. It's this, it's that, and I love you so much. And oh my God, you're just like,
What's the Barbra Streisand movie, Prince of Tides? It had a very Prince of Tides feel to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, you're gonna have to explain that to me. How, like, overwrought? Is that what you're going for there?
No, it was just very sure of itself, but also like sad, and life has been wronged. I've been wronged, but I'm strong. Kind of resilience.
Very kind of like not aggrandizing isn't the right word, but very much just like I'm going to feed you a load of hooey, but it's very like, I know this line has worked with lots of other people, and so I'm just going to like be manipulative and just kind of pull these strings in the way that I know how. And I think it's just a little over the edge for us as viewers to know, oh, this is not right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because Charles completely is falling for it.
Yeah. And the visuals show the cuts of her coming back, and he's like, look at all the flowers here for you.
Yeah.
And
get well soon. And
she's wincing a little bit. But
at the appropriate times to like kind of
Yeah.
keep him in check.
But other times she can just walk through the house.
She can just sit up and walk right away. Like,
I'll
she knows
get it.
She knows yes.
Oh, you will?
Okay.
Okay.
2 seconds ago you were wincing because he touched you too much.
Yeah. Her hand creeping over to his.
I didn't see
on
that.
the ground. Yeah, when she's on the ground and he's like calling for help, and her voiceover is happening, and she's bleeding, and her hand is creeping over to his.
I didn't see
that.
That's very cute and adorable, and she's laying it on thick still as it's going on. What I will say, the total meta moment here, like, so she has like part of her whole thing there is that like she sees herself as this bassoonist the only one on stage.
Even the feature bassoonist at the end of the episode is not the only one on stage.
Even though she's the soloist. Yes. I'm wondering if they totally block shot that with all the other like Broadway stuff that they did in like episode 3 with Oliver.
They had to have, right?
They just take the theater, do all this blocking. I was immediately like, oh yeah, they totally shot this at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a beautiful dress, but it was also like, oh my gosh, it had like flowers, and the way that it was draped, it was almost like she was the spring lady,
very Firebirdy kind of.
Like Firebird. And she's supposed to be playing the Firebird at the end, but it's another soloist.
It's another soloist who so she tells, and again with the whole manipulation, she tells Charles not to come, even though this is her great big shining moment as the first chair soloist for Firebird. She tells him not to come, and he doesn't. But then he does.
Because Saz! Jane Lynch! Oh my God! So great!
I don't think she got an Emmy for this, but she deserved it. That was just
so wonderful.
So hilarious. Like, the great joke on this, that Steve Martin's stunt double is Jane Lynch. And it's just chef's kiss.
Oh my gosh. I have to look back and see who directed this episode, because that blocking reveal of that he's standing at the door, and then the door pushes back. Or they take 2 steps, and then it's Jane Lynch. And then we like paused and we're like mouths agape, looked at each other like, oh my God.
And they let everybody have that moment. Like, it wasn't just the audience who got that moment.
Yes, that was so fun.
They made a meal out of everybody with this. Like Mabel, Oliver coming in and being like, however much work you've had done, it's too much.
Yeah. Oh, but that is not the proper first response that you wanted. So, is that filler? That's how he thinks a polite response is.
It's lovely. Everything who we should look up. Can you look up who wrote this episode while I yap for a second here?
Yeah.
Because it's 9th episode in, they have dialed in everybody's voices at this point. They didn't do this in like the network sense where they're like writing and filming at the same time. I know they probably block wrote all of these at the front of all this, but by episode, everybody's voice in this is so specific and lovely. Like, I wish Bunny was the murderer. Because when she holds a meeting to like move to like evict all these people, Charles, Mabel, and Oliver from the apartment, like her voice, like she's just great. Like, what does she say? She's like, "Sit down, you jerk offs." No, she says like, "Get your keisters in your seat." But then she's like, "It was these." What does she say? She said, turns out there's a murder in the building, and one of you jerk offs did it.
Yeah.
Her voice is great. Howard comes back and has a little like he's perfect. Like every character is just spot on in this episode, and I love it. It's great.
Yes.
Or maybe we just know them better by this point. The writers certainly know who they are, and it's really fun watching them do it.
Yeah. Well, of course, Steve Martin and John Hoffman are the creators, are tagged for the writers, but Kristen Newman has the written by credit.
Okay, good job, Kristen. Yeah. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and it's directed by Jamie Babbitt. Which, now I need to see who that is. She did But I'm a Cheerleader, I guess.
Oh, okay. Love that movie. Natasha Lyonne, another great
mystery person. She's also directed Gilmore Girls, Silicon Valley. Oh. Yeah.
Top of the line here. But Jane Lynch, just phenomenal in this. Love her.
I was definitely like when she comes in and she just the second time she comes in and says to Charles, you're such a great person. Like I learned all your mannerisms, and you see them move their
they like cross their legs at the same time. They push their
arms,
glasses
they push
at the
their
same
glasses
time.
Back up. She's like, I've learned everything about you. I just you're such a wonderful person. And then
you think so poorly of yourself. She's like, I don't understand how this goes on. And it's very sweet, especially since he's been complaining about her the whole episode.
Yes. Yeah.
She stole his first wife, not his wife, but like one of his like longtime girlfriends.
Yeah, Cookie. And then he had to deal with her on the show for 7 years. But when Jane Lynch says, or the character says, you think so poorly of yourself. I just don't understand. And because you're so wonderful. And then she says, and Jan is so great. And I was like, wait a minute. We have already said that you are a poor judge of character. I don't think you're a poor judge of Charles, but I think you are a poor judge of Jan and Cookie, or those who are stolen. Or
those who can be stolen can be stolen.
Yeah.
It's the worst aphorism ever.
Yes. But at the same time, then I was like, oh, wait a minute. Is she having a thing with Tim Kono? How? Really? Weird.
Do you mean Saz or Jan? Because it turns out Jan definitely was having a fling with Tim Kono.
Because we find out at the end that what we thought was a sex toy is actually a bassoon cleaner.
Yes, and a great interview. Like, so Oliver, while Charles goes to the show, Oliver and Mabel go interview Tim Kono's next door neighbor to find out. So Saz does a great thing. I'm sorry, I'm recapping, but I just have to say this. Like, Saz says, no, the motive for this was love, like a lovelorn
that's
lover.
Right.
A lover
Earlier
killed him. It was a crime of passion. So they're like, okay, we just need to find out who this is. So they go interview the next door neighbor, and it's just like, we don't know who he was sleeping with, but she was loud.
Yes.
He whatever he did, woof, he was good at it.
Yes. And then she's wistful, like, whew.
Yeah, she's a little hot on the collar.
Yeah. She's like, I may have hated Tim Kono,
but he knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
So here's a question though about Tim Kono. Do we think that he was actually a good lover, or do we think that Jan was just, for whatever reason, maybe using him? And like, because we know she lays it on thick. Was she just laying it on thick about him being a good lover?
Oh, yeah. Weird. Right?
Like, what is
her connection to all of this?
Yes, like why is she so interested in Tim Kono? If she only goes into marriage relationships or goes into relationships to manipulate, but maybe she doesn't. Maybe she doesn't just go into relationships to manipulate. Maybe she did genuinely fall in love with Tim Kono, but he was so obsessed with finding these jewels and
that she felt like a second chair again.
What does she say? My last boyfriend. Oh, I don't.
At the table, she says,
Was it her last boyfriend or her father? It was her father.
But she said also about her boyfriend that her boyfriend always wanted to, what was it?
Oh, my God.
Was it watch sports or always wanted to do something else?
I don't know, but as soon as we get off this podcast, we're going to have to go find out.
Yeah. And by the way, I am now making a map of the apartment, of the apartment
need
building.
to make a map. There's got to be a map of this somewhere.
I'm sure it exists.
You are now exactly like Charles in episode 1 with the map of Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Or is it Nebraska?
Oh, no, I think you're right. It's Oklahoma.
Okay.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay
Everything is not okay in Oklahoma. Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Oh, and the other thing you brought up.
What?
That we thought in the first episode, I mean, again, speaking about things from the first episode or the first earlier on, is that we thought that Oscar was dead in Mabel's arms. But now you're like, well, Oliver has merch, and it's the tie-dye merch.
Oliver has tie-dye merch, which he tries to sell at the co-op board meeting, and just goes horribly wrong.
Yeah.
But yes, he's got tie-dye sweatshirt merch, so it might not be him that Mabel is over all bloody from the very first opening scene and all this.
Yeah.
Especially since at the end of this episode, he's got on a suit and he's going upstate to talk. Well, we think he's going upstate to talk. He's going upstate to talk to a lawyer who can get his record expunged and his name cleared. Now that, of course, Teddy and Theo have been not convicted, but arrested for the death of Zoe.
I do love that in the podcast when Oliver says they haven't killed for many months.
Many months, yes. Because, of course, Oliver has to put out a retraction.
Another thing I really liked about this episode.
Yes, please.
Is that Charles, well, I'm worried for Charles, right?
I'm worried for Charles, too. He is, they are really, they're coming back to his whole arc about him kind of being isolated and alone and a bit of a pushover. Yeah.
And while Jan is like, no, this is really important to you, this podcast, you kind of feel like she's like, oh, no, I encourage you.
Oh, yeah. No, she definitely wants him to, stop this podcast.
Yeah.
And get anywhere close to finding out that she's a murderer.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, that seems like a weird manipulation that she hears about how Saz steals the girlfriends of
Cookie from
Charles. And then she puts out flowers and lights candles for Saz to change her the bandage on her,
but definitely makes
wound.
It look like they're getting.
But it looks romantic, and then she claims that it's not. But so she's gaslighting him.
Yes, 100%.
But to what end? Because then she leaves because she's gonna try to make him beg.
Yeah, she's gonna make him beg, and she wants to
put a distance,
keep him coming, and make him feel bad and continue to feel bad, so that they do stop with the podcast, because Oliver and Mabel are definitely not stopping with the podcast.
Yeah. But I love that he yells at them in the elevator.
It is tense.
And it's terrible what he says. It's so mean, but at the same time they're just
hilarious. He does Oliver even says that was a great callback. Horrible to say, but and it really was. That
Splash 2.
Splash 2. We're going down with you. Anyways, yes.
Yes.
But he's mean, but they still
are still well, we love you.
Yeah,
we're going to correct you. And I'm not 26, I'm 28, says Mabel. Which they're just okay, well, whatever, buddy. We care about you, but and it's good for you to speak up. Just don't be mean to us.
Maybe, yeah, we're the ones who are actually on your side. Don't be mean, because he rolls over for everybody. He makes an omelet and then without a sound just gives it up to Saz because. That's just such a great little character moment. He makes an omelet, he's going to eat it. Saz comes in and takes it, and you're he just rolls over again. And that was another thing that makes Saz's moment right there extra special. You're a great guy, so.
Yeah. And so I guess it's lovely that they unconditionally love him and want the best for him, even if it means, we were discussing this before we started recording, Charles's individuation.
Yes.
You learn to be, a stand up for yourself person, let go of your
You're
resentments.
Worthwhile, but just maybe not be mean to us because we're actually on your side.
Yeah. We will forgive you, but please don't be mean to us.
Yeah, pick your battles. Maybe with somebody else.
Yeah.
Like Jan.
Or Bunny.
Ugh. She is such a horrible person. They call her out for being a bully in the in the condo meeting, and I'm just like, yes, she's a bully. Again, to the voices, yes, she's a bully, but she's so flippin' great. I love her.
Yes.
Just mouth shut, keisters down, you jerk offs. Oh my God, she's just
And now
great.
we have a murderer in the building. And Howard stands up for them.
He does. Like, and they come into it thinking that it's going, like, they come into it believing in Jan. Because Jan's like, it's got to be Howard. They're like, maybe Jan was right. Maybe we should go back and look at Howard. But then Howard stands up for them.
Yeah. And then they say they cast the co-op casts aspersions on Howard by saying that his apartment has
foul odors.
Foul odors. But that's probably just cat pee, right?
Yeah, no, probably yes.
Poison.
It's not poison. I don't think they're intimating that it's poison, but let's be honest. Cat pee, not a good smell. Yeah, I don't want that coming from an apartment next to me either.
So, my question is, do we think Jan is a serial killer?
You don't So, what is the definition of serial killer then? I think if we're going to make a case for you here, we have to figure out like how many people over what period of, because she didn't kill Zoe, so she's not that killer. So she killed Tim Kono. Do we know of any other murders that
cat?
The cat, yes.
And she's trying to cast aspersions on Howard, or put the focus on him, but
yeah, but I don't. That's not a murder necessarily, unless she kills Howard. And serial killers, I guess what I'm trying to say is, Jessica, no, I don't think
okay,
I
so
don't think
I'm just
you can
gonna
claim
be completely
that.
wrong. Okay, outside chance, what do you think? It's one of the two ladies that were in the first co-op meeting, the sort of older lady with the kind of red curly hair, and who's always sitting in front of them.
Yeah.
And then there's the other young lady who has the two kids who won't sleep in their own rooms now. Yes. And she's like, I have to now sleep in bed with two people who shit their bed.
Who actively shit themselves.
I mean, could it be either of them?
Well, let's take a pause for a second here. No, I don't think it's either of the kids. Certainly not the kids. But I don't think it's either of them. What I will say is though is like, if these kids are actively pooping themselves, they are not too old. And if they're not too old, what are you doing listening to a true crime podcast on speakers in your building around them? That's on you.
Right.
They are not like picking up the YouTube for kids and listening to true crime. That's on you.
Oh my gosh. How many kids are though? Don't you think? I mean, there is so much true crime out there. There have to be a whole generation of children.
Is that what Blue's Clues is? Is Blue's Clues kids true crime?
Oh my God.
And if not, how do we do a kids true crime? That's what we need to do. Like,
oh, wow. It's
Goofus and Gallant.
Maybe it already exists.
Don't murder people like Goofus does.
Well, I mean,
Gallant never touches
Brown,
the evidence. Yes.
Nancy Drew.
Yes.
That's for kids. I mean, it's for teenagers.
It's for teenagers. I'm talking. We need to talk about the pre-K and K audience for mysteries. Like,
yeah.
Where did my blocks go? Peekaboo, there they are! Oh my God, how did this person go away? They're missing. Peekaboo, there they are again!
Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego?
Here I am. Ah! Easiest mysteries to solve ever.
So,
all right.
I mean, so Jan.
It's Jan.
You think it's Jan.
I think we're 100%
I think it's Jan.
It's 100%
I'm
Jan.
Like 98% it's Jan, honestly, because I still think it could be one of those two ladies.
You're holding out hope.
Or Bunny.
Bunny. So Bunny or Jan? No, it's Jan. 100%
okay.
Jan.
All right.
All right. Well, we've got one more episode and we'll find out, but I'm pretty sure it's Jan.
All right.
So yeah, it's like, yeah, there is a book that takes like classics of literature and like does them as like golden books, like one word for each of the beats of like Les Miserables or something like that. I'm wondering if we can do like one word beats of like Only Murders in the Building for some pre-K audiences.
Ooh.
I think,
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to think about that because I'm pretty sure it's Jan. But we'll be back and we'll let you know for sure.
We'll leave you guessing.